Hello and welcome back to the house in Fata Morgana, a Requiem for Innocence. I assume it's going to be kind of downhill for Jacopo from now on, like personality-wise, because he's away from his friends, he lost his counselor, so who is going to keep him on track? But yeah, we'll see. Part 2, Forsaken. Hey, look at all those heads. Supposedly they were beheaded for trying to assassinate the Lord. That seems like a lot of folks for an assassination attempt. Who can say what happened up yonder? Have you been down to the square today? I have. My heavens, I almost passed out at the sight of it. Why would those stupid thugs try to go after the Lord anyway? There's been whisperings around the town. They say he was actually born in the slums and isn't a noble at all. Wasn't that just his cover while he was in hiding from the phony Barnier? I certainly hope that's the case. But either way, it's probably best to keep quiet about the topic. I'll say, I doubt he'll do anything as bad as the phony, but it still brings back bad memories. And things were getting to be so pleasant, too. What is this? Some kind of sick joke? Fucking Gratien's right at the very front. And the other guys? He used to hang out with at the pub. Did you kill them all, Jacopo? You killed all your old friends. Why? What the hell, Jacopo? You would never hurt anyone. What happened to you? You went through hell with these guys. How could you just fucking murder them? Have you really changed that much? You have. You have, Jacopo. You've become a completely different man. No, you're long dead. You died in that goddamn revolution. The Jacopo I know no longer exists. All that's left is Lord Barnier. Everyone, they're all gone. You, Morgana, Jaren, Gratien. Every last one. What the fuck, man? Yeah, I mean, she doesn't know about Gratien, but it's tricky. I mean, Jacopo definitely acted out emotionally like he always does. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. I appointed a new consul shortly after Odilon's death, but he was an ineffectual, short-sighted oaf. And to top it off, he had a tendency to simply nod and agree with anyone and everyone, rather than express any opinions of his own. If anything, having him around made my job more difficult. But it wasn't as though there was anyone else competent enough to take the position, and relieving him so soon would come with its own crop of problems. So I ended up using him to shuffle papers and handle other menial work, while I took care of the actual decision-making. My first order of business was to establish clearly defined rules and punishments. Speaking ill of the Lord, spreading false rumors about his lineage, creating art of any form which could be interpreted as defamatory. These were all considered acts of lèse-majesté and, in the most severe cases, were potentially punishable by death. I started seeing results almost immediately. Well, kind of makes sense with those measures. The people stopped claiming I was a fake, that I came from the slums. The Banyi name became a symbol of fear once again. My renovation efforts proceeded as originally planned. The city flourished as a commerce hub, attracting merchants and patrons and visitors from near and far. Some fields had to be removed as well to accommodate the expansion of the marketplace, but they were hardly producing anything worthwhile to begin with. If farmers wanted to keep farming, they were free to move elsewhere. Ooh, I don't know about that. I scaled down the size of the slums while scaling up security. Lacking leadership, what little remained of the peacekeeper group had turned into a gang of unruly thugs. So, rather than keeping the peace, they largely made things worse. In response, I forbade the formation of unauthorized organizations within the slums. And with all that in place, the city was much safer and more orderly, and the economy significantly stronger than it had been under my predecessor's rule. However, those unfortunate enough to miss riding the wave of economic growth found themselves falling ever further behind their neighbors. The ravine between the poor and the wealthy had become nigh uncrossable. Capitalism. My own manor was hardly a bastion of safety either. Not only was I rapidly enacting new policy, laws were stricter and punishments harsher than before, so many were, to put it lightly, more than a little displeased with me. I'd gone through several food tasters and just as many direct assassination attempts. It wasn't particularly difficult to avoid major incidents by simply suspecting everyone, but I could seldom relax as a result. In time, I came to prefer solitude. Well, not so much prefer, as require it for my own safety. Odilon's death left me with more than just solitude, though. The phantom slipped free from my dreams, appearing from my shadow whenever I was alone, laughing endlessly.
What did I tell you, boy? You're controlling them with fear, just as I did. It's a wonderful feeling, is it not? The look of terror on a man's face is the most exquisite thing in all the world.
Silence, you.
Stand by the window and listen. You can hear them all the way from the bottom of the hill, bemoaning the great and terrible Lord Barnier.
Be quiet.
And you know who their cries are about? It's not me any longer. It's you, boy.
Shut up, goddammit.
Don't fool yourself. You're no better than me.
Enough, I said silence, spirit. I am nothing like you.
Is that so? Then tell me, boy, how do we differ?
I don't hold those disgusting banquets for one. Nor do I torture slaves for my own sick pleasure.
By your command, hundreds of slaves are being worked so hard it will surely spell their deaths. How is it any different than murder or torture?
I mean, it's a little different, but depending on the work, well, their deaths aren't meaningless. They're giving their lives for the good of the city.
In your eyes, perhaps. But how many would take your side?
You have no idea what you're talking about.
If the people were truly satisfied with your rule, you wouldn't be holed up in this room all the time. You have no one you can open up to, no one to offer you companionship. What better proof of your tyrannical ways than your own isolation?
Shut your damn mouth.
You wretched man. How many times have you been betrayed? Have you found anyone you can trust after all your old friends proved you couldn't even count on them?
Oh, for God's sake, quit babbling already.
Solitude will be your constant companion for the rest of your days. And should you let your guard down even for a moment, know that 100 men lie in wait, ready to plunge their blades into your back. Your attendants dream of the day they can sneak poison past your taster.
Shut up.
Ah, you poor pathetic child. How much misery and stress have you brought upon yourself because you let your dreams run amok? Clawing your way up into a world much, much too big for you.
Be gone, damn you! My lord, I heard a huge crash. Lord? How many times do I have to tell you to stay out of my chambers? Forgive me, but I was afraid you might be in... I can take care of myself, goddammit. Don't make me say it again. Yes, sir. To hell with you. We're nothing alike. I'm making their lives better, not worse. I am not a tyrant. I started relying on alcohol to rid myself of the phantom. When I was drunk enough, I didn't have to see anything. I didn't dream, I didn't have nightmares. And most importantly, I didn't have to think. There were times I couldn't be sure whether I was in my right mind. There were times I was so panicked I wanted to scream my throat raw. But there was never a time I was safe showing that weakness. I knew from experience it would only put me at risk. I couldn't complain to anyone. I couldn't ask anyone for help. I couldn't believe in anyone. Odilon's dying words came back to me again and again. Stay strong and ever high of heart. What did it even mean to be high of heart, though? Certainly I had nothing to be proud of. Not having spent my early years a filthy, impoverished slum rat, not having spearheaded a violent revolution and stolen the throne, not this farce of a tale about me secretly being a noble. I hadn't been raised to be a lord. I hadn't been taught to have a proud, noble spirit. That was likely what Odilon had wanted to impart upon me. The nature of a ruler. People automatically respect a man who is truly dignified and noble. They instinctively admire him, kneeling out of wholehearted honor. And that's what makes a true king. Not knowing the first thing about how to be that kind of man, I fell back on the only alternative that came to mind. Forcing them to kneel beneath my iron fist. 2 years under Odilon's tutelage was nowhere near long enough to instill in me the natural nobility I needed. Thus was I left to be tormented by this accursed phantom whenever alone, and play the ruthless ruler elsewise. In my attempts to mask the fear lurking within, I grew louder. or louder and more ostentatiously contemptuous. Practically every other word out of my mouth was an insult. The old Jacopo was long gone, and Lord Barnier had crept in to take his place. It was gradual enough that I hardly realized it was happening. But now, all I saw in the mirror was the face of a cruel, wretched man. I even came to hate my old self. Think him foolish. What kind of a vapid nebulous dream was I want to go out into the world? What basis did I have for thinking myself any more significant than any other kid on the street? And where the hell did I get the idea that having influence meant having freedom? I could barely even take care of myself. Where did I get off on thinking a little power would let me protect the people I cared about? And what about now? What, fundamentally, did I even want now? What did I have to protect? Nothing. I was too far gone. There was no light to be found, no matter how far I marched this path. And only a bottomless abyss waited at my back. I had left myself with nowhere to return to. Yeah, everyone needs their support group. Sounds simple, but Before I knew it, nearly 4 years had passed since the revolution. By then, not a soul dared defy my will. I was surrounded by people who supported my every decision. Few of them genuinely agreed with me on everything, obviously. But no one could deny how much growth I had brought about, and so long as I continued to produce results, I would continue to have their outward support. As a trading hub, the city flourished, but the citizens were less than thrilled about the work I was doing. The poorest especially seemed to hold a great deal of enmity for me. But I was reaching the point where I couldn't manage on the support of the upper crust alone. Simply dumping sacks of coin into the streets wouldn't end poverty though, and increasing taxes on imported goods would undermine everything I had built up. Lacking an actual solution, all I could do was work to make them feel like they were better off than they actually were. Fortunately, it was much easier to pull the wool over the middle and lower classes' eyes than it was the better educated upper class. Still sounds tricky. I started by building public recreational facilities, which citizens had priority access to, and then I turned my eyes toward religion. About a year earlier, as a part of the city's expansion, a bridge was built across the river that served as the city's effective border. A church had still not been established in that new district, so I wanted to build one and gather a following. Conveniently enough, my predecessor had been in the process of building a second manor on the other side of the river, and with a little bit of work, it could easily be repurposed into a church. Once people started making use of the church, it would be simple to win their favor by making myself known as a generous patron. Faith was the ultimate blinder for the uneducated, and history showed time and again that religion could be a powerful tool in the right hands. Sad but true. But the high foreigner and merchant population in the city meant that no one particular religion had managed to take hold. The merchants especially tended to develop their own individual philosophies over the years, with few caring much for higher powers. That was a possible explanation for why the church had never had much sway in this region. There was, therefore, a chance the whole thing would just be a colossal waste of money. However, I had recently caught wind of a curious rumor. There was a nun serving at a small church at the far edge of town who people had come to refer to as the Saintess.
Mary, let's come here, Sister Mary.
Oh, what is it?
We picked some flowers for you. Take a look, they're so pretty.
Oh, why, thank you. They're beautiful.
Get it away from me. She actually fell for it.
Hey now, how many times do I have to tell you it's not nice to trick people?
You're too much fun to tease, Sister Mary.
That's hardly an excuse. It's still wrong. I'm your big sister here, so you need to treat me like...
Oh, there's a bug on your dress.
What? No way. Where is it? Get it off. Someone get it off me.
Just kidding. There's nothing there.
Oh, get back, you little rascals. So, her name's Mary. Or maybe it's Marie, I don't know. It's always tricky in this. Not quite what I envisioned of the so-called Saintess. She seeks out orphans to take into her care and offers food for the hungry, shelter for the homeless, and rest for the weary. And where exactly do the funds for that come from? She covers it all herself, supposedly. I highly doubt she has that kind of money just sitting around. Look at the building. It's practically falling apart. Wait a second. I get it. She makes use of all the church's resources to fund her charity. That is correct, my lord. Is she really so foolish as to not realize that's unsustainable? The locals are quite fond of her, but the same cannot be said of the priests and other nuns. Her work is causing them great financial stress. I'm not surprised. Shall I summon her? No, don't bother. I've seen more than enough. Yes, my lord. What? You have something to say? No, my lord. I simply find it curious you would take the time to come all the way out here when you have far more important work to attend to. Not that I would ever imply your judgment is anything other than impeccable, my lord. I just thought the Saintess might be someone I knew. Pardon? But I was mistaken. They don't call her the Saintess because she does God's work. They just call her that because she's a damned goody two-shoes. So much for words having actual meaning, Christ. I see. Lord Barnier? It's nothing. I'm heading back now. Yes, sir.
Oh, Mary, the giant man's here.
Come now, be polite. Come on now, be polite.
Good day, Marie. The kids seem to be doing quite well.
Oh, you have no idea. So well, in fact, that this little hooligan found himself a whole handful of bugs. And goodness, he about scared me out of my skin.
A little mischief is a good thing. Their smiles wouldn't be half as bright at any other orphanage.
I'm not so sure about that.
In any case, here's what I earned this week.
No. I keep telling you that's not necessary.
But you do accept tithes, no?
Yes, but still.
I know it's hardly enough to cover what you need, but please.
No, that's not what I mean. It's your money. You should use it for yourself.
I have nothing to use it on. You'll put it to much better use than I ever could.
All right. Thank you. But try not to work yourself too hard, okay?
I promise.
Goodness, you really do make a lot in a week. I didn't realize carpentry paid so well.
Indeed. I'm fortunate enough to have found good work.
Maybe I'll leave the church and take up carpentry myself. Just kidding.
You kid, but you would do quite well for yourself. You're strong enough to carry me at least.
That took every last bit of strength I had. Who is that man? Oh, we remember. I don't know, it's kind of funny to have all this coming back here. Even with all the foreigners we get here, I've never seen anyone who looks like that. He is a frequent visitor to this church, though he does not appear to come for the charity. An Oriental, perhaps? Oriental?
My former consul told me of them once.
Vagrants from the Far East who supposedly look much like that man. How curious. He may be able to fool the nun, but I know damn well no carpenter in the world makes that much in a week. And there's something fishy about him. Yeah, sadly. Look into that man. Tell me anything you find out about him. Yes, Lord Barnier. Now I'm heading back. Interesting. I mean, I knew we were gonna see the story we already knew from the main game, from the later chapters, but having like all these small puzzle pieces in between to fill in the blanks, how everything came together. In addition to the renovations for the church and gathering intel on the Far Eastern man, I made sure to keep an eye out for any unusual rumors or happenings outside the city's borders. Of all the reports I received, the one that caught my attention was word of a witch who lived by a lake. This lakeside witch supposedly had miraculous powers, allowing her to cure any ailment, and the effect was transmitted through her blood. This wasn't the first time I had heard of the witch, an elderly woman who prepared and sold medicinal herbs. But I hadn't realized she also traded in miracles. It sounded like a bunch of snake oil to me, but she had allegedly cured a deathly ill young girl and started to make quite a name for herself. But on top of that, they also said the sound of the witch's first cry had ended a years-long drought in the village where she was born. This doesn't bode well. Why not, my lord? Try using your damn hat once in a while, would you? Two competing denominations forming so close together, you don't see how that could lead to all sorts of headaches? The objective is to unify the people under a single banner, to which I then pledge my support and earn their favor, but that all becomes moot if their faith turns towards this witch. Wait, I'm just wondering now, because one of the points that the miracle was that nobody knew it was the blood. But I guess that's no, I remember now, because they are doing it with the saintess as the front. But still interesting that people know that it's the blood of the witch. Well, rumors. The people do love their heroes and miracles after all. It is quite an attractive proposition, I must say. I'm mocking them, you buffoon. I beg your pardon? The chances of it growing into something actually worth worrying about are slim, but better to snuff the flame out before it spreads than sit back and hope it burns itself out. Shall I deliver an order for her to cease operation then? That would be best. Actually, no. I'll deal with this personally. You just keep your mouth shut and do exactly as you're ordered. Nothing more, nothing less. Understood? Yes, Lord. To start, summon the man from the church. A few days later, I was standing face to face with a man in my audience room. He seemed much less personable in person than when I had seen him with the nun. Stone-faced, cold, and faintly smelled of blood. Not that I could actually smell blood, but there was an animalistic air emanating from him. That much I had expected, though. I knew before summoning him that he was anything but a respectable man. I take it you're the Oriental man who's been seen buzzing around a local church of late?
That would be me, yes. What of it?
Who do you think you're talking to, you impudent rat? Show some damned respect.
Apologies. I'm not very familiar with the local customs or language.
Very well then. You're fortunate I'm such an understanding man. Off to a great start. Now, for the reason I called you here. You're the one who killed that cart full of slaves 4 years ago, aren't you?
So you know about that?
But how? Wasn't the only person that survived that Morgana? Huh. I wasn't actually sure it was you, but now I have confirmation. Since then, one slave of Far Eastern origin has remained unaccounted for. Okay, fair. I take it that would be you.
That's right.
You made one hell of a mess out there.
Am I here to be punished?
That depends on how our talk goes.
If you think I'm going back to being a slave, you're fooling yourself.
I don't need any more damn slaves, and I certainly don't want you as one. You're obviously not finding any respectable work being an ex-slave, so I take it you're still in the business of getting your hands dirty, are you not? I assume you're playing cat burglar or something, living off whatever you could swipe from the nearest unlucky bastard.
Correct.
Isn't it comical then that you would choose God's sacred house to stretch your legs in, you filthy dog?
I absolutely agree.
I thought that would get a reaction out of you, but it seems you've got no bite in you today. Never mind, let's get down to business. You're going to help me out with the little something I'm working on.
Help you with what exactly?
Something that's going to make me a lot of money. And if you lend a hand, I'll make sure you're well taken care of. Along with the church you're so fond of, and the nun you've taken a liking to. That nun of yours has made quite the name for herself. Out in the city proper, people have started calling her the Saintess.
They're right about that. She is.
The commoners love their heroes and saints. They eat that rubbish right up. But saint or not, you can't simply create food from nothing. Her work is causing financial troubles for the church, is it not?
It is, yes.
If you help me with this, I'm offering you an entirely new church, one where she has complete control to do as she wishes. She'll make it into the biggest church in the city. She'll be able to help even more people, which should surely please her.
What would you have me do?
Jumping at the first whiff of scraps. You really are a dog, aren't you?
I don't like conversations that overstay their welcome.
Fair enough. Then let's get to business. Not far from here lives a witch whose blood has the power to cause miracles.
Miracle blood? Sounds like a sham to me.
You never know. They say the sound of her first cry brought rain to the land where she was born, saving the whole village from drought. And they say her blood has the power to cure any disease. I'll worry about the veracity of the rumors later. Right now, all I want is for you to capture her and bring her to me.
Explain something to me, Lord. You said that if I helped you, the nun would be able to save more people than she does now. So, how does capturing this witch accomplish that?
I'm glad you know how to listen, dog. We'll be turning the blood into a miracle elixir, which she will then distribute to patrons of the church, in exchange for tithes, of course.
Selling it, then.
Selling isn't quite the right word, but if that's how you want to think of it, by all means. The commoner's beloved saint is handing out an all-powerful miracle medicine. They'll lap it up.
And in turn, you'll make a fortune.
Exactly. Money I can use to support her church. It'll be a boon to the city's economy as well. A single witch's freedom is all it'll cost for everyone here to come out happy. So, what'll it be? Will you help, or will I have to?
I'll help. I have no reason not to.
That easy, huh? Decisive and a good listener. Excellent.
Once I've captured the witch, where do I take her?
I have a mansion set aside where your nun can run a church. There's an observation tower on the grounds. The witch will be kept locked up there to ensure we have a constant supply of blood.
Okay. When do you want me to get her?
You're just chomping at the bit now, aren't you? I thought you'd hesitate at least a little, but I guess it was foolish of me to presume to understand how a killer's mind works. You're saying killer's mind, but you're also condemning this quote-unquote witch to... I mean, I don't think I have to explain to you that this is fucked up. All the resources I put into investigating you and everyone close to you were wasted, it would seem. Do you even have a conscience?
Don't act like you're any different.
Exactly. I assure you, I have a conscience. I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't necessary for the growth of the city.
No, I mean you're as much a murderer as me. You would never come up with a scheme like this if your hands were clean. The man's right. You're nothing but a murderer. How deep has the blood seeped into your hands? How many have you killed, claiming their lives necessary sacrifices? And how many more will die for your ambition?
Silent spirit.
That poor, poor witch. Blessed with the power to perform miracles, only to win her the attention of the villainous lord.
It must be done. I don't have to explain myself to you. It's not like the old hag has long to live anyway. What the hell is villainous about having her spend her final days for the greater good of the city? Again, we don't have to explain that, do we? Also, it's actually funny that Jacopo wouldn't piece together who she is. I mean, if the rumor says it's an old lady, okay. And also if he assumes that Morgana is probably either dead or somewhere very far away, okay. But shouldn't you be suspicious just a little bit? He's really blinded, like laser focused on his goal and doesn't worry about who he tramples over at this point. So many lives will be improved at the cost of only one.
You keep telling yourself that, boy. But what you're doing is no different than my banquets. You're cut from the same cloth as the man standing before you. And the same cloth as me.
Begone, phantom. Watch your mouth, dog. Don't you dare insinuate I would ever condescend to your level. Right. Oh boy. The fall may have been gradual, but it was steep. Damn it. That's the first time he's shown up with someone else around. At least you behaved yourself today. I'm pretty sure you're smarter than most people I deal with. And you won't betray me either. Who knows how much longer he'll live, though. Stay. Don't touch it until I say so. Oh, quit pouting at me like that. You're the Lord's dog. Stand tall and proud. Alright, here you are. Drink up. Looks like it's safe. What? You're having the dog taste test? That's such a terrible idea for many reasons. I swear, so much work just to get myself a damn drink of water. When I heard about the Saintess, I thought it might be you, but it was someone else. I never did get around to resuming the search after Odilon passed. There's no one around I can trust with such a sensitive task. Though it's probably for the best if I never do find you. We can't go back to the way we were before. Not that there's much chance you're even still alive. If, by some strange chance, you are still alive, what would you think of the man I've become? Shouldn't something like that keep your head straight? Like what Morgana, what Maria are thinking? Shouldn't that be some kind of reference? Again, I get that it's a very hard position to be in, but especially with this witch plan that's so off the rails. Several days later than originally planned, the Far Eastern man finally arrived at the mansion. I had arranged to meet with him in the uppermost level of the observation tower on the church grounds. Sorry. About time. The man appeared before me, a burlap sack slung over his shoulder. I had ordered he use the sack, afraid he might be foolish enough to actually drag the old woman all the way here.
There's your witch.
He threw the bag to the ground, causing the woman inside to let out a muffled grunt. It didn't sound like an elderly woman's voice, though. This stench. Tell me you didn't harm her, dog. I smell blood.
You only instructed me not to kill her. Mistakes were made, limbs were lost.
Damn it.
I cleaned up all the blood I got on me. No one suspected anything.
He's even farther gone than I imagined. I should have been clearer in my instructions. Though I suppose it doesn't matter much. Well, if you're going to be very cold-blooded about it and think of just the profit you want to make, you would want the person whose blood you need to be in good condition health-wise, right? Like, losing a limb is not an easy feat in general, and especially in those times, and especially if you need the person's blood. It's just stupid, is what I'm saying. Like, beside being cruel, of course. I suppose it doesn't matter much. She's not going to live long either way. Again, that's kind of against what you were planning, but sure, whatever.
That you were able to immediately recognize it as the smell of blood says quite a bit, Lord. You have killed before, haven't you?
Enough yapping. She is alive, yes?
Of course.
Fighting back a sigh, I tossed my gaze from the man to the bag. I felt slightly sorry for the woman, but the feeling didn't last long. I had seen too many bloodied, mangled bodies, both dead and alive, to be faced by one more. He crouched down to untie the bag. And a young girl came tumbling free. It can't be. As soon as I saw her, I knew exactly who the girl was. It had been 4 years, but no length of time could wipe from my memory those patches on her face, or those breathtaking golden eyes. But why? How? What was she doing inside the bag? Why had I ordered her captured? How could I have done that? Morgana. She was pale as death, shaking visibly. Confusion seized me, a cloud of swirling darkness forming before my eyes. The first thought that came to mind was that he had gotten the wrong person. I had only ordered her captured because I thought the witch by the lake an old woman. If I had known she was a young girl, let alone her, I would have never given the command. But those thoughts led nowhere. I was simply trying to avoid facing reality. Trying to place the blame on anyone but myself. I couldn't take back what had already been done. I couldn't change it. There she was, the girl who had once won my affection, lying in a ball in the cold stone with an arm missing. It didn't matter how we had gotten here, or what I had felt about her. There was no fixing what I had done. She looked up at me, at the source of the muttering above her. Her eyes were opened almost frighteningly wide, and they wandered aimlessly unfocused to the point I wasn't sure she was seeing anything at all. I felt a tinge of madness in her.
Is that you?
The words spilled from her lips, so soft they barely reached my ears. Hardly a trace of the beautiful singing voice from my memory remained. It was hoarse and raspy, every sound seemingly laced with an unfathomably deep, pitch-black hatred for all existence. You remember me? Would she even be able to recognize me anymore?
How could I ever forget?
Morgana, she remembered me? The days we spent together? What kind of person I had been? The boy who had refused to give up putting ointment on her face? All our friends? Those horribly unromantic encounters at the graveyard? Her taking shots at me taking shots at her? Did she really remember all the time we had shared?
How could I ever forget? All the pain and humiliation you put me through.
What?
How could I ever forget the blood sabbats you so loved to hold?
What was she talking about?
Haven't had enough, have you? Leaving scars on every inch of my body wasn't enough for you? You haven't had your fill of my blood?
I couldn't even begin to process the words I was hearing. They were little more than angry, meaningless shouts crashing into me. What the hell was she saying? Did she think I was someone else? Did she think I was him? That I was Banier? No, Morgana. That wasn't me. I wasn't the man who had caused you so much agony.
Look at the girl. You would claim you haven't caused her pain.
You're the man who bound me, cut me up, called me a witch, and then tried to kill me. I haven't forgotten you even for a moment.
No, I was the man who rescued you from him, I wanted to shout. But I couldn't gather the strength to force up a single word. Only gasps of air came from my lips. It was like I had been robbed of my voice.
I don't care how much my father preaches forgiveness. That's the one thing you'll never get from me. I despise you with all my soul. I revile you with every fiber of my being. For every scar you gave me, I give you a lifetime of hatred.
No, Morgana. When I finally managed to produce a sound, it was barely more audible than a whisper. In a frenzy, I made to reach out for her, when I noticed the pair of narrow eyes glaring at me. I was not aware you knew the witch, Lord. Huh? Know her? I don't just know her. She's Morgana. She's the girl
This man, the Lord, he destroyed me, mind and body.
Oh,
She's not wrong.
that was another man.
You have become that man to her.
I am not Banier.
Do you hear yourself, boy? You're the rightful heir to the Banier name, are you not? That's what you said when you stole the throne from me.
This man ruined my life.
How will you respond, boy? Will you say it wasn't you? Can you say it wasn't you? How will you convince her? She's clearly not in her right mind. Would she even understand if you revealed the truth? Can you do that, knowing it won't make it through to her? Will you tell her you're nothing more than a slumrat, a usurper? That you deceived your way into power? That everything you built up over these years was all a lie? That you killed your former friends for nothing? That Odilon died for nothing? That you endured betrayal after betrayal for nothing? Do you have the spine to say it, boy? All the sacrifices you made, all the pain you suffered to make it here, could all come crumbling down the moment you do. What will it be, false lord? Is the girl worth it? Is sharing the truth with this half-dead girl on the brink of madness worth losing everything you worked so hard to accomplish? Make your choice. What's the matter, Lord?
Yes, I know her. Or I knew her years ago.
I see. What do you want to do then, Lord? You look sick.
What do I want to do? Obviously... Why? On Earth? This doesn't change anything. We lock the witch up and proceed as planned. Fucking... I mean, I knew it, but... seeing it actually play out like that... heartbreaking. Did I make this choice? Why indeed.
Congratulations, boy. Thus concludes your inheritance of the name Lord Vanier.
Yeah. You have truly become him. 4 years earlier. It wasn't until I lost everything that I truly understood just how blessed I had been. How much my time with them had allayed my wounded spirit. And how hard they had worked to mold me into an ordinary girl. But that was all gone now. I may not have said as much, but I liked it there. I was quite fond of the tranquility. I didn't want to lose it. I wanted to be happy as much as anyone else. I'd long lost track of how far I had walked. My legs were stiff and my knees didn't want to bend anymore. It took all my effort to remain upright. And I was certain I would never get back up if I did fall down. I still couldn't wrap my mind around what had happened. It was all so sudden, all so horribly senseless. It was so mind-bogglingly horrendous. Part of me refused to believe it was anything more than a bad dream. And that was what kept me walking. Because if I did accept it as reality, I would lose what remained of my will to live. It was supposed to be a party. The girls got together to celebrate my birthday, making food and treats that, while hardly extravagant, was still a significant improvement over what we usually had. Everyone was laughing. Part of me was irritated by the whole affair, as I had never been comfortable in such living such lively environments. They were celebrating me, my birthday. I should have been overjoyed. Maybe this was my punishment for being so unappreciative. As soon as I stepped out, bandits raided the brothel. Had I stayed there but a few minutes longer, things likely would have turned out quite differently. Whether for better or worse, I couldn't begin to guess, but at the very least I probably wouldn't be here, alone. I could have gone with them to the next life. During the raid, a man grabbed me and I lost consciousness almost immediately after. When I awoke, I was in a foul-smelling carriage. People were packed into the carriage like livestock. There were dozens of them, every inch of usable space filled with a body. Looking out across the cramped space, I knew instinctively I was on my way to becoming a slave. Once, I had been sold off as a saint, a highly valuable commodity. But this time around, I was cheap, expendable labor. I was filled with an overwhelming emptiness as the realization struck. Something resembling sorrow wavered about in the void as well. But it wasn't a sadness for my own predicament. It broke my heart knowing I would never see them again. That everyone I had to thank for all those warm, peaceful days had either been killed or sold off. In time, the sadness swelled to form tears in my eyes. My whole life I had managed to endure without crying. And the first time I did, I shed tears for someone else. The man sitting next to me asked, "Why are you crying?" To which I answered, "I'm sad because I didn't get the chance to show my gratitude to people very dear to me." But if that had been the end of our conversation, I wouldn't be here, hobbling down this endless road alone. I wouldn't be covered in so much blood. Some time after I had responded, the man suddenly stood up and murdered the guards and slave traders. At first, the other slaves thought they were saved, and for a moment I believed so too. He was a very curious-looking man. His eyes smaller and narrower than ours, his nose a different shape. I had never seen anyone who looked like him before. All I knew was that he wasn't from around here. The man, wielding a sword stolen from a guard, searched through the slave trader's clothes for the keys to our shackles, which he gave to me, and made me free his hands, before proceeding to kill the slaves. I stood aghast as the massacre unfolded before me. Blood pooled at my feet, severed limbs were strewn about the carriage. Bodies piled up haphazardly, many having only had enough time for their eyes to go wide in shock before being cut down. Men, women, children, everyone equaled at the end of his blade. The strange-looking man laughed as he slaughtered the slaves. He laughed and he laughed, like he was having the time of his life. And when he was done, he stepped out of the carriage and wandered off, leaving me alone, the sole survivor. I had witnessed so much death in so short a time. Cruel, meaningless violence. Its victims powerless to resist. And here I stood among the bodies, left alive. for some inexplicable reason, left alive. The screams, the despair, the pleas, the death, the laughter, all reverberating inside my head. O Father, who art in heaven, please give me your mercy. I cannot take it anymore. I pray, free me from this pain. My spirit was about at its breaking point. I was certain that I too would sink into the bottomless abyss if I kept all these emotions inside me much longer. I walked and walked and walked and walked, no food, no water, my exhaustion at its peak, my mind in a complete haze, when, off in the distance, I caught sight of a lake. So thirsty. Water. I began hobbling in the general direction of the lake, not caring that it took me off the main road. Bandits could have assailed me, wild animals made me their prey. None of that mattered to me anymore. At least then I wouldn't have to walk anymore. But for better or worse, I made it to the lake unmolested. The water was clear as crystal and seemed to sparkle like one as well. As soon as it was within reach, I dropped to my knees and drank, my thirst seemingly insatiable. The blood covering me had dried several days earlier, but its bitter stench lingered. So after a brief glance around about my surroundings, I washed myself. The chill of the midwinter lake water and occasional gust of wind pierced me to my very bones. No one in their right mind would bathe in this weather. But common sense and the chattering of my teeth didn't stop me. I wanted only to be clean again, and the frigid water felt like it would strip everything away, leaving my body and spirit new and unsullied. Once I was satisfied, I came to the belated realization that a small cottage sat on the lakeside. There's smoke coming from the chimney. Maybe there's someone inside. It could be someone bad, though. Maybe it would be safer to stay away. But who knows when I might find someone else? Excuse me, is anyone there? Hello? The door's unlocked. It was so warm inside. The heat from the fire seeped into my chilled flesh, spreading slowly. I almost burst into tears again. Sitting before the fireplace was an old woman. A cauldron hung above the flames, bubbling with a curious colored liquid. "Ma'am?" The woman merely sat there, her head drooped. Slowly, I approached her, half certain of what I would find, and placed my hand on her shoulder. She was dead, and I hardly so much as batted an eye at the sight of yet another corpse. In fact, she looked like she had passed quite peacefully by comparison. How blessed she was. There was no sign bandits had been rooting through the cottage. Presumably, she had fallen asleep and passed away naturally while in the middle of concocting something. Looking around the room, I found myself surrounded by countless items I couldn't begin to identify. plants of all colors hanging from the ceiling to dry. Berries crushed and stored in small glass bottles. Were I to guess, the old woman made her living off herbal medicines. Having gotten a good look around the room, I thought that perhaps I had been guided here. And if my father had led me to this place, he would not frown upon me for doing what was necessary to make use of it. So I dragged the old woman's corpse from the cottage and pushed it into the lake. If I didn't take up residence in the cottage, someone else eventually would, or it would just be left to deteriorate. And I would rather take the opportunity bestowed upon me to have a place to rest my weary soul. As the woman's body sank into the clear lake, a realization struck me. I hadn't crossed myself. A few days after I moved into the cottage, a man came to the door. Apparently, he had been a customer of the woman's, a witch by trade, and he was looking for more medicine. When I spoke to him through the door, he gave a short gasp and said,
Who are you? Where's the witch?
I am her granddaughter. She is not presently home.
Huh. Never knew the old lady had kids. So when's she gonna be back?
Not for some time.
Well, damn. You know much about herbs, girl?
Well,
As long as I can get my medicine, I don't really care who supplies it. You, her, doesn't matter. I'll still pay.
one moment, please. My knowledge of herbology was essentially non-existent, but if there was a possibility I could make a living of it, there was no reason for me not to try. I asked the man to give me as much information about the herbs he had been receiving, color, texture, smell, anything, and rummaged about until I found something that fit the description. The entire exchange occurred through the barely cracked door. The man paid me as promised, but I quickly realized that money wasn't of much use to me, as I had no intention of returning to the city. So I told him that, in the future, I would trade for supplies, which he happily agreed to. A few days later, another man called upon the cottage. But unlike the first man, he sounded crude and uncivilized. I didn't want to cut off a potential source of supplies, though, so I handed him the medicine he requested. But when I did, he let out a low snicker and said,
What do you say I look after you, girlie?
He then shoved his hand in through the crack in the door and grabbed my wrist.
You ain't fooling me. The hag's dead and it's just you, ain't it? Little girl like you needs someone to look after her. Make sure no bad man threaten you.
Every word that came from his mouth oozed with sleaze. I knew what would happen if he got the door open. Let go.
Whoa.
I yanked my arm back with all my strength, slammed the door shut, and set the bar. But even that wasn't enough to quell my uneasiness, so I put a chair against it as well. The man pounded on the door, each slam of his fists causing the whole room to vibrate.
Overreact much, huh, girlie? Come on, open up. I still ain't paid you yet. Brought something real nice, too. Open up. I want you to have it.
I don't need your payment. I am never doing business with you again, so please get off my property.
Wanna say that again? You got a lot on nerve, huh, you little bitch. Open the damn door. You don't want to know what'll happen if you don't. You get more for sale than just bags of leaves, don't you? Open the fucking door.
Just stay quiet, Morgana. The best way to handle people like him is to just not respond.
Good for nothing, you. One day you'll learn your lesson. This will eat a little girlie like you right up.
After giving the door one final parting kick, the man stormed off, loudly grumbling about how stupid and ungrateful I was all the while. I didn't deserve a word of his cursing. But at the same time, I couldn't bring myself to be upset about it. He was right. The world would not be kind to a young girl living on her own. Not so long as men like him roamed free. I paced before the fireplace, my mind racing. I can't be sure I'm safe anywhere, not even here. But going back to the city isn't an option. Not while the Lord lives to keep throwing his blood servants. Everyone who might have protected me is gone. I have to make it on my own now. I'll have to be very careful about opening the door. I could be attacked again, or worse. I mean, most men would probably run as soon as they saw my face. But most doesn't mean all. There are some out there who will go after anyone. I can't let my guard down while I'm doing business, not even for a second. Man or woman, everyone is a potential threat. I'll make it on my own. I don't need anyone else. Me and only me. Being out here has really shown me just how sheltered I was at the brothel. How kind everyone was. How peaceful my life was. I just want to go back. No, stop it, Morgana. You're stronger than that. I put enough wood on the fire for it to last the whole night, then curled up into a ball and slept beside it. For the first time in my life, solitude frightened me.
Yeah, there's a thing, there's being by yourself, and there's not having anyone. Morgana. What, were you planning to sleep all day? Come on, you're not Jaren.
Huh?
About time. Good morning. What little of it remains, anyway. What's with that look? Still waking up?
What are you doing here?
Excuse me, why would I not be here?
That doesn't answer my question. How did you even...
A little bird told me where to find you.
So you survived?
Do I look dead to you?
No, but still I thought you were killed during the raid.
I may not be as good with a sword as someone, but you know I'm no pushover. I wasn't going to let a bunch of bandits get the best of me. What? Were you worried? Seriously, Antira thought all you knew how to do was damn me to the fires of hell.
Was I worried? Of course I was, you oblivious dolt. I never actually meant it when I said you should be cast into hell. Of course I want to see you alive. Of course it would hurt me to lose you.
I'm sorry. That was careless of me.
I was afraid I would never see you again. I thought I'd lost everything, everyone. I was scared to death.
Whoa, no need to cry. You're tougher than that.
I am not crying.
If you say so.
And what do you mean, I'm tougher than that? What do you think I am, made of stone? First you try to pretend I'm a normal girl, and now you act like I'm some kind of heartless creature. Make up your mind already.
I'm sorry, really. You're a perfectly ordinary girl, Morgana.
Can you say that looking at my face?
I'm looking at it right now.
Even though I'm a mean-spirited, bitter little girl?
Even though you're a mean-spirited, bitter little girl. Though it's nice you acknowledge it.
Oh, burn in hell. Say, I want to ask you something. And I want you to not call me weak for it this time.
Let's hear it.
Will you stay with me? I don't want to be alone anymore. It terrifies me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll stay right here forever.
You know you won't be able to accomplish your dreams out here, right? And you're fine with that?
You bet. You told me to stay, and stay I will. We live right on the lake, and there's some mountains nearby. All things considered, it's not a bad location. We can plant some crops, go fishing in the lake, sprawl out on the grass under the starry sky. Sounds like a pretty good life to me. And maybe sometimes you could sing a little song. And I'll sit there listening quietly. Or if you want some accompaniment, I can procure some instruments. That sound as nice to you as it does to me? Nothing, seriously. What else could you want? How about...
No. That's more than enough. Yes, if I could have a life like that, it will have made every misfortune in my life worth suffering. He's not here. It was a dream. What else could it have been? He's dead, just like everyone else. They all died in the raid. And even if he was alive, he wouldn't come looking for me. What a childish dream. Fight it, Morgana. You cannot cry over a simple dream. You are the daughter of God. Your tears are only to be shed for others, not yourself. I pounded my I pounded my fists against the floor again and again and again, sobbing like a petulant child. I'd never cried like this before. Not as I witnessed men, women and children being slaughtered, not when I was taken from my home, not when I was chained up and tortured by the Lord. It wasn't until I realized just how much I needed that warmth, and that I would never have it again, that my spirit hit rock bottom. Finding and then losing happiness hurt worse than anything else. I wish I had never known happiness. I wish no one had ever shown me kindness. Not if it means I have to go through this. I wish I had never known what it was like to be normal. I could have just stayed the daughter of God my whole life. Then I wouldn't be feeling like this. I never knew crying like that was so exhausting, and I never want to experience it again. I want to go back to who I used to be, a saint. If I didn't know happiness, I wouldn't have to feel like this. I just have to forget it all. That part of my life, it never happened. No peace, no rest, only trials from my father. And that is all I have ever known. It's not hard. Just don't think about those years. Then you won't have to cry like this ever again. It's for the best. It's my only choice. See, I was always right. I never was and never will be normal. The only ones who will offer me salvation are God or one of his angels. And so I did precisely that. I led a solitary life. I did all my business hidden behind the cottage door. And I sent away anyone who wasn't here for medicine. Once, a mounted man in armor rode up to the cottage. He looked like a knight, but I had no interest in getting involved with anyone who went around carrying weapons. I was responsible for my own safety, so I had to be careful about who I opened my door to. I had to be extra careful about who I dealt with. But I didn't feel sad or lonely about it. By making that my normal, there was nothing to lament. Which meant old memories served no purpose but to cause me pain. So I endeavored to push them far, far away into the depths of my mind. I couldn't simply discard my memories of what the Lord had done to me, of course, or of all the wonderful people I had met at the brothel. But as time trekked on, they faded into almost nothing. I couldn't describe what any one person's voice sounded like, how they acted around me, what kind of person they were. The things we did together, what they looked like, what their name was, anything of importance. I knew good and well it was callous to forget about all the people who had shown me so much kindness and warmth. But I would never see them again, and thinking about them only brought me pain, so there was no point in remembering. It was all I could do to make it by. That sucks. Yeah, I'm going
to leave it here for today. And as always, like I'm always happy, like part of me is happy to get Morgana's point of view because we got so little of it in the main game. But then it's always pain. So that little dream there was so sweet and heartbreaking at the same time. Because yeah, she never really did get a happy ending, did she? Oh, that really sucks. That the world just teaches her that she cannot trust anyone, that she cannot hold on to the good things in life. That's just so sad. Like, it's very understandable how she's putting up the walls around her again. But yeah, just sucks. Oh boy. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm going to leave it here for today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I'd appreciate hearing your thoughts in the comments down below. And until next time. Bye bye.